Welcome back to Jadana Live, a space that's honest, passionate, and non-threatening, where people can process out loud, ask better questions, and grow on purpose without having it all together. If you know, you know. So happy to have you all here. It's been a busy weekend, okay? Like, Father's Day is today. Happy Father's Day to my dad. You my ride or die. I know you're listening to this, probably turning it off right before I get into the meat of the episode because you don't like when I cuss. Love you. And happy Father's Day to my husband, most gentle, sweet, and kind dad who truly puts our kid before him. And just, I respect it. I respect it. Love you, Daniel. So yeah, and I always got to give a shout out. I have literally an strange number of friends who are without their dads, truly. So, or have just odd relationships given circumstances their fathers made. So I love you guys. You deserve all the love and fathering. And, you know, sometimes there's really not much to say about that except I see you. And I love when my friends who are up to it share stories and memories with their dads that make them happy. Can't really control all the other stuff. So yeah, love and would love to hear stories of you all with dads who are no longer here. If you're comfortable with that, please shoot me an email at jadonalive@gmail.com. I would love to read them. And so the state of the world, what's going on? It's terrible. So yeah, trying to hold the beauty of Father's Day for some, juxtaposed with like ratchet things going on. But yeah, I have a fun conversation today with a good friend of mine who is on the pod 4 times out of the year. And so we, in the episode, we forgot that it's actually her 4th time on because the first episode was the fall equinox, and now we're doing the first summer solstice. So she's done a full cycle. I will wait until we get into the meat and potatoes of it all for her to introduce herself. But yeah, excited for the summer, still working toward the relaunch in the fall. For those of you who donated to my GoFundMe in April for my birthday, working on the designs for my stickers right now that I'll be sending out to you, as well as the affirmations that I will be getting out to you. So get excited for that. And yeah, still so grateful for this platform. No idea where it will lead or not, just kind of doing what I'm doing and being consistent, having a good time. So let's move right over to the affirmation. All right, now it is time for the affirmation segment. For those new to the podcast, I conduct an affirmation segment every episode where I invite people to repeat life-giving phrases out loud, ingraining them into your subconscious mind. So the goal is to be intentional about who you want to be and where you're going. And I started an affirmations practice 2022 when I had my kid, because I did Hypno Babies an episode for another time. And it was so powerful and kind of taught me a lot about intentional meditation and where it can lead. So had to incorporate that into the podcast. And you're welcome to listen to each affirmation first and then repeat it out loud with me the second time. My purpose for this segment today, that's all about not just community, but self-confidence, is to remind you of who you are. Oh my gosh, not very peaceful with so much going on in the background, so apologies for that, but it is just kind of what it is today. So we are going to bring in peace amidst everything else. So just go ahead and plant your feet on the ground. For me, as you do so, begin to lower your shoulders. Take a deep breath through your nose. Release through your mouth. And say, repeat after me. I am a valuable member of my community. I am a valuable member of my community. I have things to offer. I have things to offer. My presence by itself is enough. My presence by itself is enough. I am enough. I am enough. I give grace to the people in my community. I give grace to the people in my community. I give grace to myself. I give grace to myself. May community find me if it hasn't already. May community find me. I welcome strong, fun, fulfilling community. I welcome strong, fun, fulfilling community. I know my worth, and my presence is enough. I know my worth, and my presence is enough. Yay. Thanks, y'all. I feel good about that. I used to just come up with affirmations kind of like in the moment and feel it out, but I started to write them out, and I feel like I overthink them when I write them out. And so trying to get back to coming up with them right in the moment. We'll see how it goes. First time doing that in a while. So yeah, let's move on. Now it is time for the What Are You Into Lately segment. Today, it's what are you into lately, because we are excited for the summer. Summer's upcoming. We're going to talk about the summer solstice. And joining me for the what number episode is this for you now on Jordana Live? Is it 3? It's not 4? Okay, it's 3? Wow, it feels like more. Well, welcome. This is Bailey, if you do not know her, from previous episodes, which is totally fine. I know a lot of new people have been listening, so super appreciate that. Bailey Sims is a licensed mental health counselor, registered yoga teacher, and a nature connection facilitator and founder of Mind Body Nature Counseling. What she does is she integrates the mind, body, and natural world to help individuals reconnect with their inner wisdom, embrace their authentic selves, and experience whole body nourishment. She draws from psychodynamic, trauma-informed, and nature-based approaches and really works to create spaces both in her therapy room, but also out in nature on the trail, and really helps facilitate transformative healing and facilitate empowered living. I love that intro.
Yay, thanks.
Yeah, that's great.
That's actually not the one I just sent you. So I think that was like a past me. Like, good job sending a good intro.
Ooh, I like that.
Forgot I did that.
Well, hey, go you, go past self. Well, welcome, Bailey. Anything you want to add to that or what?
No, yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised by the little intro I wrote in the past and forgot about. Spent some time there thinking about what I really do, and I wouldn't really add much. We'll get into the nitty-gritty of how that looks as it relates to whatever we talk about.
Yeah.
But I'm just happy to be here.
Happy to have you. Love having you on. And so for those of you who are not aware, Bailey comes on for every solstice and every equinox. Again, licensed mental health counselor to kind of just help us transition into the seasons and anticipate how to prepare and to kind of prepare and reflect. So before we get into summer solstice stuff, maybe it's because I've been on TikTok and Instagram so much more lately, but I wanted to just kind of zoom out and address just how heavy things feel in America right now. And I know across the world in so many different ways, shape, or forms. I know this Saturday, there is a national, I think it's also international protest called the No Kings march or protest, I forget the exact word, with the idea that we as Americans are not interested in having, a king dictate everything that we do here. And so a lot of folks will be marching this weekend. There have already been tons of marches for protest against ICE and just how invasive they have been to youth and families. And then there have also been a lot of pro-Palestine protests, also protesting how terribly the Palestinians have been treated for, oh my God, God knows how long. So many, there was the plane crash in India that happened and one person survived is what I think I saw. I don't know how true that is. I did not clarify that, so do not quote me on that. But so just like a lot of things that are happening here, and I do not want to ever make it seem like here is where you will find answers, like listening to this podcast will help you find any sort of solution. No, the reality is that can't happen. That's not me. But I do want people to know that this is a tough time. I want to just acknowledge that if mentally you're processing a lot and it's been hard to deal with some of that, I understand. And as cliche as it sounds, I do feel like we're all kind of navigating this together, even though it looks really differently. A lot of us are trying to figure out, okay, what do we do? I personally do not protest anymore. Physically, I don't do marches anymore after having my kid. Being a Black woman, especially in Indiana, there were some things I won't be doing. I won't be sacrificing myself for. However, having a podcast and also just conversations, and when I have, friends together bringing up certain topics, I see that as my role in the resistance. I believe everyone has a role. And that it doesn't have to look the same. So just wanted to kind of open the podcast with that sentiment. And Bailey, I know I didn't really shoot any of that to you before, but not sure if you have anything to add.
I do. I was telling my husband, I think our Gemini moons just sync up and we go, because I'm like, oh my God, all the thoughts. And it's directly connected to the summer solstice in my brain. So I'll try my best to communicate it a little bit, but I think I just, want to affirm that. I think as a mental health counselor every day, multiple times a day, I'm holding contextualized stories of what's happening in the world. And it is heartbreaking. And there's always that question of can I do more? What else can I do? And as you were talking, I was thinking about I think I first came on in the winter and we talked about planning and the energy of winter and it leading up to New Year's resolutions and stuff. And so then in the spring episode, we talked about planting seeds and how it can also be kind of turbulent and not always pretty, but planting the seeds, you spent time reflecting. And so as I was thinking about summer, I'm thinking about this energy of commitment to maintaining the things you planted in the spring that you planned for in the winter, and where that connects for me in terms of the state of the world and all that we're trying to hold is now's not the time to plant new seeds. Now's not the time to be oh, I'm just going to all of a sudden switch gears and do 5 new things because I feel so overwhelmed or inundated with information and I have to do something, right? It's how can we look back at the seeds we planted and make the connections to, I don't know, I think about you in this podcast, you committed to this and this is your space. This is your mode of showing up and you're using the thing you already committed to do the work in the resistance, like you said. And I don't think we have to venture so far off from the things we've already spent time nurturing and committing ourselves to. I don't know if that's translating entirely well, and I can go more into it when we talk about summer a little bit more in the energy of summer.
No, that makes sense to me because I don't know any technical terms for anything, but I just know when mentally there feels to be so much imbalance and so many things that aren't secure, trying to add things to my plate, even just even positive things, trying to add oh gosh, how many more articles can I read and what other things should I find? I've really been trying to be more engaged as much as I can, but I'm not gonna lie, right when I am kind of stunned to the point of my heart dropping, I know that's not an activating point for me. I need hope to be activated. Some people need despair to activate. And so I feel just being aware of your activation point specifically in these times again, I don't know exactly why I wanted to say all this, but it just felt heavy on me. I'm just
Yeah.
like, God, there's just so much. So I don't know. Hopefully that can be helpful in some way to you guys listening. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And I always come back to as well, like there is engagement that's necessary, right? We can't turn a blind eye or choose ignorance, I don't think, in my opinion. But we also don't have to overwhelm our nervous systems to the point of like not being able to function or like care for
Yeah.
ourselves because that just adds to the suffering of the world, you know?
Yeah.
Like caring for yourself is caring for the world. That can be abused, of course, but you I think know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, yeah, we're coming up on summer.
Yeah.
For those listening, this will actually come out the Monday before summer. So, yeah, Bailey would love to kind of just hear
Yeah.
your thoughts on that transition and what's been on your mind with that.
Yeah. Honestly, like I'm remembering either last year or the year before the wildfires that were out west. You were out there. So there was probably a much worse air quality out there, but maybe not because it kind of blew east quickly.
Yeah, you guys had it from Canada, right?
Yeah, Canada. That's right. And the Pacific Northwest. And the air quality was so bad and it's been kind of bad lately. And I think there are forest fires in Canada again. And I'm just like reminded cyclically of like, oh yeah, it's summer. And I'm trying to connect the cyclical and rhythmic way of summer with like the state of the world as we transition out of that into summer solstice. Even like in 2020, this month was like the Black Lives Matter movement, the protests that were happening and still are to some degree, but um, in the middle of COVID, which was wild. Just like big cultural moments that can happen in the summer. And there's so much more daylight hours and so much more energy
Mm-hmm.
hold more. And I think we do tend to take on a lot more in the summer, just in our personal lives, but also in like our consumption of the news and engagement and things. And I don't know if that's always necessary, but I just wanted to comment on that too. I'm noticing in myself, like, oh, there's more time in a day. I'm more energized. I should take on more.
Yeah.
But I'm also like almost 9 months pregnant and
Yeah, for those who
physically
cannot tell.
baby down here. But yeah, okay, a little intro into the summer solstice. The summer solstice marks the first day of the summer season, which is exciting. And it's the longest day of the year, the shortest night. So kind of in the northern hemisphere. So it's the opposite for the southern hemisphere. Yeah, and historically across all cultures and religions, it's been celebrated with feasts, songs, bonfires, festivals. My time working closely with like within the forest school and nature connection too learned and experienced firsthand the energy of summer being really committed and steadfast. I always use
Mm.
like the agricultural metaphor of like you plant the seeds in the spring, there's not much you do but wait, and then in the summer it's like I'm weeding, I'm pruning, I'm
Yeah.
watering. It's insane. It can get
Yep.
out of hand. And that's kind of the energy of summer. It's like it doesn't always feel that way, I think, in modern society now that we're not like, oh, what's that word?
Really?
Anyway, yeah, we're not like not all of us are like working agriculturally like that, you know, because of modern technology and things. But so we're a bit removed, I think, from nature's rhythms in that way. But if you think back, that makes a lot of sense that summer is a time of hard work.
Which is so
Yeah.
opposed to like
Mm-hmm.
how we thought about it as kids. And I feel like I'm still trying
I
to
know.
transition out of that mindset of like, "It's summer, yay, let me
Summer
do."
break.
Exactly. I'm not over it still. I
No.
refuse to be over it. I'm like, I'm committed to a fun summer. I do not
Yeah.
care.
But in so many ways, like to have a fun summer while also having small children and working a full-time job is a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
Like it makes you tired. Like it's fun, but it's also like
Yeah.
ready for bed.
Yeah.
I could just
True.
be pregnant me talking. But yeah, I think like something I also thought about when it comes to summer is like, and having a garden plot this year in the community garden is like troubleshooting. Like something's eating our peas and we have to figure it out. Is it a bird? Is it a pest? Do we need to find netting? Like which plants are doing well? What's working? What's not working? And I think that can be, that's just a beautiful metaphor, I think, as well, of like, what are we tending to, pruning, watering, nurturing in our life? What is the work that we're trying to accomplish? Like, if it's like, you know, personal growth type work, and even evaluating like what's working and what isn't working, what should I try instead? Like, I think summer can be a lot of trial and error. Yeah, in the midst of growth as well. So
I've
those are my initial thoughts.
I feel like trial and error is one of the most under like focused on topic. Maybe I should do an
Mhm.
episode. I don't know. Trial and error kicks my ass because I feel like I don't know if other people can relate to this, but I like to embark on something new and it's like exciting and fresh with the goal of like succeeding. And
Mhm.
I feel like this podcast journey has been so interesting with trial and error because oh my god, even like a recording I did yesterday like started 10 minutes in because of another issue that came up. I mean, this whole process I've had to learn something new every single time. And I feel like entering into the summer and thinking about like you're kind of saying like folks who've had to keep the land and trial and error and adjusting and kind of pivoting. I just cringe because I'm like, that doesn't always feel like the most pleasant or like most fulfilling thing. And I feel like we just had this discussion about spring
I know.
being like a time of, intention, but also like work. And sometimes you just want to be like, God damn, how much more work am I going to have to do? And maybe this is because I've just had a tough past couple years. And I'm just like, when are things going to fall into place? I am sick of it.
Yeah.
But it just may not, it doesn't feel, yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of keeping the course. Like,
Uh-huh.
kind of like we're talking about like trial and error, doing something, okay, adjusting, doing something, adjusting, doing something, adjusting, which gets you to such a beautiful landing point eventually, but it's a process.
Yeah. And you have to make space for that. I think as a human, we're like human nature is to be consistently inconsistent. And then there's like so much out of our control that like bring those two things together. Like if we can't embrace trial and error, then yeah, we're gonna fail at everything according to our minds. I think something I've been
Mm-hmm.
thinking about is like how we're the meaning makers of our own life and we get to make sense of the trial and error process and like own it from an empowered place instead of letting it defeat us.
Ooh, Bailey, you preaching there.
Yeah. I've learned to like, it's kind of chaotic to be in a constant state of what it feels like a constant state of trial and error. Because I feel like as a new therapist, that's been my experience. And I'm bringing all my clients along with me. And I'm like, I'm I'm apologizing because it's kind of chaotic. Of course, it's not anything I can control, but I still sometimes apologize because it's a little bumpy. But it's like you don't know what you don't know until you know it. And so have some grace and compassion for yourself.
No, I had that exact thought yesterday. I don't know, reflecting on something that I was frustrated with myself about. And I was like, instead of being ashamed and feeling feelings of shame, which are very common in my mind and life, I was like, I was just like, I made a mistake. I just made a mistake. And then in the future, I won't make that mistake, or I will just be aware of the mistake I made. And I feel like there's so much pressure on us, even in the trial and error process, to be like, God damn, like, I don't want to do that again. I just did that. And instead realizing, mistakes just happen. Everybody makes mistakes.
Everybody has those days.
Literally, but it's like when you really think about that, it was so freeing to me the other day because I'm like, geez, oh, it was just a mistake. Literally move on. And so I don't know if that's kind of the sort of energy we can affiliate with this summer or if that kind of connects to anything else you were thinking about.
Yeah. I always hold summer in my head as a paradox. Like we kind of talked about earlier, just like summer vacation, but it's also like a lot of hard work to juggle all the energy and time and sunlight you get in a day. And it's like a time for like a ton of socializing, but also a time for like doubling down on the tasks at hand. And I was brainstorming like 5 ways that we can hold summer energy. And I can
Love
share
it.
those.
Please.
The first one is like really paying attention to what your body is craving in a given summer, and that's different person to person and kind of ties in with the next one of like being okay with your version of summer. So like noticing how your body, and when I mean body, I really do just mean like your body first and maybe then your mind, spirit, whatever as well. But like first and foremost, how is your body showing up and what is it craving in the summertime and using that as insight. A lot of times it's like a light, refreshing salad, a dip in the pool, right? Like, and making sense in your own meaning of those things, like all internally, not like taking someone's prescriptive idea of summer,
Mm.
but from the inside out, your own body's wisdom. Like, what does this season create? What does my body crave in this season, and how can I listen to that? And then being okay with your version of summer. I think I kind of alluded to that when I was talking about like staying anchored to the seeds you planted in the spring. Like there's a lot of opportunities to join protests. And if that is a part of like your values, your mission, your seeds you're planting, then like, yeah, if it's in alignment, go with it. And if it's
Mm-hmm.
not, don't force it.
Mm-hmm.
And your pace may look a lot different. And I can speak to that personally, being super pregnant. I was even just talking to my husband. I was like, man, I wish I could host or offer like free services to like Latinx, communities in this time, da da da. And I'm like 3 to 5 weeks away from giving birth. Like I can't. And it's not my time. There will be a
Mm-hmm.
time.
Mm-hmm.
But reminding myself that like the work I'm doing now is in alignment with the seeds I planted in my life and my rhythm and what my body craves and all of that. So I think sometimes paying attention to your own body can be hard too. So observing, like I've already mentioned, like the plants and animals or like growing and gardening metaphors, I think are a great way to stay anchored to the energy of summer, your own observations of those things.
Hmm.
And then the last two are let yourself flow, finding time and making space for like flow state. So like allowing yourself to get into rhythmic, like committed work of any kind. It could be like crafting, journaling, gardening, just letting your mind and body be occupied by something simultaneously at the same time.
Hmm.
And then illuminate what's working, which is kind of like the trial and error. Celebrate what's working, course correct what's not.
Yeah.
And to me, those are all anchored in the energy of summer and in like the qualities of summer.
Yeah. You bringing up flow state, that's a great reminder because I've been read a book on that a couple years ago and I've been wanting to exploit that in my life more. Maybe take advantage was the better word to use in that scenario. But yeah. But anyway, I know we have to wrap things up here. I super appreciate just those subtle reminders of how we can root and ground back into the summer season. And even just this podcast, I'm really proud of us even having episodes every transition because it just reminds me that it's even happening. Usually I'm like, oh, summer started 2 days ago. And it's just
Yeah.
helpful to realize like there are a changing of seasons. It does impact nature. We are nature. What's the flow? How do we kind of, relent to the
Yeah.
flow? So thanks again for
Yeah.
being here. You have anything else to add?
I don't know. An idea just popped into my head when I talked about like how historically it's been celebrated with like feasts, songs, festivals, and bonfires. Like create an invitation for your own little summer solstice ritual or celebration. Could be like have a bonfire with your friend. The solstice happens over a Friday through Sunday, which is so great. And like, I don't know, celebrate, maybe burn the things you want to burn and illuminate the things you want to, see more of and have like a little touch point for yourself. If you're wanting something, that would be a grounding way to connect and practice.
Love them.
Yeah,
Love that.
that's all.
Cool. Well, thanks again, Bailey, for coming
You're
on,
welcome.
and we will see you at the fall equinox.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Cool. All
Bye.
right,
Thanks for
let's
having
move
me.
on. Hey, to all of you who were protesting for the No Kings protest, hats off to you. For all of you who are trying to find ways to resist hatred, thank you. I was on TikTok just kind of lamenting in a post about how I feel like it's so hard to know what to do in these times. And fortunately, there was a dope creator. Her name is, or her handle is spelled ALYSSITA. And obviously the algo heard me because I came across a TikTok where she posted 10 different roles to play during social change. And she just gives 10 different opportunities, 10 different types of people on how they can show up during resistance, like a visionary, a builder, yada, yada, yada. And she provides descriptions and gives examples of what it can look like for you to play a role, kind of building movement. Her resource was Deepa Iyer. It's called the Building Movement Project. You can follow Deepa at DeePaviyer, and it's at the Building, not the, at Building Movement Project. So people like me who it's like, you may not want to protest like physically. I don't do that with my kiddo, but you still want to know, gosh, what can my role in resistance be? And how can I continue to stand up for people in need, myself, others? Check out Deepa's work. I will be peeking into that as well. So if you also want a website, let me find it because I screenshotted that as well. You can indeed go to tinyurl.com/social change map. And if you do, please reach out and tell me how it was, what stuck out to you, and maybe what we can do together. Outside of that, I will catch you all next week. In the meantime, take it easy, breathe deeply, and keep doing what you do. I will catch you next week. Same place, same vibe. Bye.